You know, I have been kind of, sort of following the hideous emotional aftermath of the shooting in Newtown, Connecticut, and the political insanity that has developed. It is just a truth that we live in a in a country that is run by, influenced by so many cowards. Most of them are white males, and most of them are gun owners, if not all of them. And it's a shame. How did this happen? How did the population of this country get to the point where it is so afraid of everything that it has to have guns and ammo and massive clips that will hold 20, 30, 40 rounds? What is wrong? What has happened? And for those of us who don't feel this bowel-disturbing fear like so many white people do, how are we exempt? Why are we not terrified the same way so many of these 30, 40, 50, 60-year-old white males are terrified? Now, it's not just them. Fear is contagious. So you have a lot of women, mostly Caucasians, in the same in the same situation. They are terrified of everything. And I am so curious about where this fear came from. For better or for worse, I watch a lot of old movies on Turner Classic Movies. And if movies do anything, at least they did, they kind of reflect as well as set the attitudes of society, the society where they're made. In this case, I'm talking about, American-made films. And I look at a lot of these films from the 30s and 40s and 50s when there was a lot of horrible stuff going on in this country. In the 50s, the fear of nuclear bombs. In the 40s, we were still dealing with the horror of World War II. In the 30s, the horror of the Depression. But one thing I noticed, and I realize I'm watching movies, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's fantasy, it's movies. But the attitude that the screenwriters, the players, the directors, the producers of these movies, the attitude was one of strength and courage. And nobody talks about, I need a gun for this, and I need a gun for that. I just wonder, that's kind of a stupid aside there, but I just wonder, how did this happen? How did it get to the point where we have so many adult white males in this country who are afraid of everything? Everything. I hate to think that my fellow Caucasian males have been reduced to quivering masses of fear, but so many of you have. What is wrong with you? Seriously, what is it you are afraid of? Is it the collective guilt that you fear about how this country was put together? I mean, I am getting more and more insane emails from people who I don't know why they write to me. This program is not that well distributed. It really isn't. Would that it were, but it's not. And there's a lot of reasons why it's not. Now, these right-wing toads would say it's because we don't have anything to offer, which, as you know, is simply not the case. The effort to stifle and strangle off any voices except these goddamn right-wing freaks has been very effective. It's very difficult to find liberal talk programming unless you go to the internet, which is okay. I mean, no problem with that. But this pervasive fear, is it because this filthy Rush Limbaugh is afraid of everything? Is it because his little cowardly hand puppet, Sean Hannity, is afraid of everything? Is it because Beck is a total psychopath, afraid of his own shadow? Is it because O'Reilly is terrified of women, terrified of other men, terrified of everything? Is it because Mike Savage sits in his studio and is afraid to come out and do anything? Is it because the second, third, and fourth tier of right-wing talk show hosts just wallow in fear? They're afraid of everything. I don't understand that. I'm just going to put it to you bluntly. Where's your manhood? Where's your spine? Where's your backbone? It's like none of you right-wing gun nuts have any courage whatsoever unless you are armed to nearly the same degree as somebody going into full frontline combat. How did you all become such cowards? How did you do that? Does this come from something in your childhood? Were you beaten? Were you picked on? If so, maybe it's understandable. Is it because you fear the loss of white male power? I don't know how that's going to happen. A lot of you think that's going to happen, but how? I mean, for Christ's sake, take a look around at all the institutions in this country. They're still dominated by white male power. What is it you're so afraid of? Why are you so, you just, I mean, figuratively speaking, you stand there and just wet your pants when there are people who show up at a hearing to talk, as they did in Connecticut the other day in Hartford, to talk about instituting sane and sensible gun safety measures. And if you need to call it gun control, and you all stand there and you just start shouting and screaming Second Amendment as if you even understood what it's about. You don't. You are so eaten alive and corroded with your own fear. How did the dominant force in this country, white male power, become just turning into a bunch of insane little chickens running around screaming and screeching with your fear eating at everything? You're afraid of gay people. You're afraid of responsibility. You're afraid of Muslims. You're afraid of colored folk. You're afraid of everything. How? How do you live just awash in your fears? When do you ever have time to enjoy your moment of consciousness? Do you not realize that all your fears are just taking away from you any kind of clarity? Any type of focus? How do you look at your kids, if you have any, without thinking about, oh, somebody's going to shoot them? How do you look at your spouse, if you have one, without thinking, oh my God, somebody's going to shoot her? And you are the one who stands in the way of gun safety rules that might prevent that. I'm just, I get emails all the time. And I get emails from people who are just saturated in fear. Just afraid of their own shadows. Here's one from Teamster 41. He says, he's probably no more of a Teamster than the man in the moon. But he says, you speak of assault weapon this and that and gun control. Should we have an assault scissor ban as well to prevent the daily killing of the unborn? What? I mean, what the hell? So many of these right-wing morons have, or I won't call them morons, these right-wing cowards, which is what they are. They're afraid of everything. They link assault weapons with the woman's right to privacy to terminate a pregnancy, and that's their justification. Well, look at all the babies being butchered. What babies? The babies that are butchered are the ones that are gunned down when they are in their first grade classroom. A woman who decides to terminate a pregnancy, it's terminating a pregnancy. It's a pregnancy. She's not, oh man, I mean, why even try? There's no point in my even bringing that topic up. People whose brains are locked down on that are going to remain locked down. It doesn't make any difference. But I just wondered why so many white males in this country operate out of what seems to be this cloying, thickening, horrific fear. Maybe it's you're afraid of retribution you think that is coming your way. Could that be it?